Author's POV. Under a warm, golden sunset, the outdoor wedding venue was transformed into a romantic haven, adorned with delicate white roses, twinkling fairy lights, and fluttering chiffon drapes. The soft music played in the background, setting a serene and joyous ambience, while friends and family gathered, hearts brimming with anticipation and excitement. As the bridesmaids, dressed in flowing pastel dresses, made their way down the flower-lined aisle, they scattered petals, adding to the air of enchantment. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement, but all eyes were fixed on the entrance of the aisle, awaiting the bride's grand appearance. And there she was, the bride, a vision of ethereal beauty in her ivory lace gown. Gliding gracefully on the arm of her beaming father, her eyes sparkled with a mix of nervousness and sheer excitement as she locked eyes with her groom, who stood tall and proud at the altar, his eyes never leaving her. As the bride and her father approached the altar, a hushed silence fell over the gathering, captivated by the momentous occasion. The couple exchanged tender smiles, silently communicating the depth of their love and the promise of a lifetime together. They both happily shared their vows and then sealed their marriage with a kiss of love and eternity. A lone tear fell from the girl's eyes as she wiped it with her t-shirt sleeve. She looked upwards and inhaled a deep breath and then exhaled it. That was the best day of my life. But why is all of this happening to us? I know Tae loves me and Tae knows that I love him, then why? A girl in her mid-20s cried hysterically as she was trying to console herself. She was in the middle of it when she heard a door opening sound and the person come inside the room. She went to him as he looked towards her and asked, "How was your day, YN?" The person asked as YN sighed and replied coldly, "It was good, Tae." She exited the door while saying that as Taehyung sighed, knowing that she is angry with him. He shook his head as he went to take a bath. James had met during their first year of college. They were both drawn to each other's vibrant personalities and shared interests, and their friendship quickly blossomed into something deeper. As time passed, they fell deeply in love, and their bond grew stronger with each passing day. Thus they decided to get married and live their life to the fullest. Although they have their flaws, but they prioritize each other over the flaws. As time passes by, after seeing Taehyung's business doing so well, YN found herself devoted to jewelry designing. She started with the hobby, but later she recognized her talent for that. She told Taehyung about it and showed him the designs. He was very pleased to see it, and she expressed her feeling to start a new business for her. So as she started her business from scratch, she refused to take Taehyung's help and did all of her work by herself with her own money. Taehyung, being a very proud husband, saw her wife stand up from scratch all by herself. And is almost successful in South Korea. However, the tables turned when she got a contract with an international company and collaborated with them. It gave her an international market and she started her business in Korea as well. She even got the award for Best New Entrepreneur. But every success comes with struggles and sacrifices. As YN's business started to grow in abroad, the time of YN in Korea became less and less. That caused YN and Taehyung to fight over it because they were not able to spend time together. Whenever Taehyung got time, YN did not, and vice versa. However, for the past month, YN is constantly out of the country and only comes for a day or two, which made Taehyung agitated sometimes. He tried to make him understand, but until when he can compromise. Back to the story. YN went to the kitchen to heat the dinner she made for Taehyung and herself, and after a while saw Taehyung coming down. She looked at him and rolled her eyes, clearly stating her annoyance on Taehyung. He sighed as sat on the chair. She came towards him and placed the dinner on the table and served for both of them. Although she is annoyed by him, that doesn't mean that she will not carry out her wife's duties. They both started to eat in silence when YN suddenly said, "I have to go to Canada for my work." She informed as Taehyung put his utensils down and said, "YN, you just got here yesterday." He said, clearly stating his disapproval, as YN sighed and said, "What's there to be here when all we do is fight?" Taehyung got agitated and said, "YN, what do you mean?" He asked the obvious as YN scoffed and said, "As I said, Taehyung, I have to go and I will go. We already fought over it enough yesterday and I don't want to drag this matter a lot now." After weeks of pent-up frustration, Taehyung and YN found themselves in a heated argument. YN had just returned from a particularly exhausting business trip, and Taehyung felt neglected and unimportant. The conversation escalated into a shouting match, and emotions surged beyond control. "I can't take it anymore. The separation is too much. I can understand that you have to travel, which I do too, but not that frequently. YN. Taehyung said as he yelled a bit at the end and stood up from his chair, slamming his hands on the table as YN flinched and got agitated. She also stood up and said, "What the hell is this, Taehyung? Where is your manner?" she said in utter shock. Taehyung sighed and tried to cool his mind. Said, "You will not go tomorrow, YN. That's for the final." YN is now at her peak and she yelled while saying, "I will go. Do whatever you want." As the words grew sharper, YN's vision blurred, her heart pounding in her chest. The next moment, she collapsed into Taehyung's arms. It took some seconds for Taehyung to process what happened. And when he came back to his senses, he saw YN in his arms unconscious. He tapped her face, bewildered and nervous, and called out for her name, "YN. YN. Yeah. Kim YN. Open your eyes, I am saying. If you do not open your eyes, then I will not talk to you at all," he said as continuously tapped her face, but it didn't happen. Neither did YN open his eyes nor said anything. He sighed and said, "Okay. You win, I will let you go, YN. Now please open your eyes, please, love." He pleaded and cried, but she didn't open her eyes. Grasping the situation, Taehyung carried her in his arm in bridal style and settled her on the car seat and drove to the hospital. Upon reaching the hospital, he again carried her and took her inside and said to the ward boy that it's an emergency. The ward boy noticed him and took YN and laid her on the stretcher. Fear and guilt gnawed at him as he held her limp form, replaying the heated argument in his mind. "Please wake up," he whispered, his voice trembling. They all reached to the observatory room and the nurse said, "You cannot come inside now. Please wait outside." He insisted to come inside and said, "Please let me in." The nurse shook her head and said, "Please, sir. Think of our rules as well." Taehyung composed himself and nodded his head and sat on the waiting chair. He rubbed his hands and then grabbed his head and said, "Please, God. Please let YN be safe." He pleaded continuously with God, and it seems that the treatment is taking eternal. After what felt like an eternity, the doctor finally came out with a serious expression etched on his face. Taehyung stood up, his heart pounding in his throat, waiting for the doctor's words. YN experienced a vasovagal response, the doctor explained. It can occur in highly emotional situations and lead to fainting. However, we also found something concerning in one of her X-rays. We need to conduct further tests to understand the cause. Taehyung felt a rush of relief mixed with worry. He wanted to hold YN's hand and comfort her, but he knew she needed space to process the news. YN's eyes were wide with uncertainty as she glanced at Taehyung, seeking reassurance. "We'll get through this together," he said softly, squeezing her hand. The doctor recommends YN to stay in the hospital for a couple of days so that the doctor can observe her more closely and conduct the test without any interruption. "Taehyung, I want to go back home. I am not feeling too good here," she complained, squeezing her fist on Taehyung's shirt as he caressed her head and kissed the back side of her palms and said, "Let the doctor run the test as he recommends, love. And it's only a couple of days, no more." He tried to convince YN. Although, she seems a bit hesitant, but after seeing Taehyung's concerned face she sighed and nodded her head. Taehyung smiled painfully as he side-hugged her and kissed her crown. The following days were filled with anxiety and uncertainty. YN underwent numerous examinations, and the tension between the couple eased slightly, replaced by a shared concern for YN's health. The doctors assured them that they would keep a close eye on the suspicious spot, but they couldn't provide definitive answers just yet. One afternoon, as YN and Taehyung sat in her hospital room, the weight of the situation enveloped them. "I'm scared, Taehyung," YN admitted, tears glistening in her eyes. "What if it's something serious?" Seeing her like this broke Taehyung's heart into million pieces as he wrapped his arms around her, pulling her close. "We'll face whatever comes our way, together," he said firmly. "We don't know what the future holds, but I believe in you, in us." He was firm with his answer as he squeezed YN in his arms, reassuring her that they will overcome it. YN finds peace in his arms. The dispute they had for almost a month died down after this happened as they both were more concerned with the health of each other. However, YN is hospitalized and it's been 3 days already. Not a single went by when Taehyung was not by her side. He didn't even go to the office, he entrusted his all work to his secretary, who is also his right-hand man. Time skipped the next day. The sterile hospital room is filled with an air of tension and worry. Taehyung and YN sit on the edge of the bed, their hands tightly clasped together, as they await the doctor's news. YN's heart races with anxiety, and Taehyung tries to put on a brave face, though his worry is evident in his eyes. Dr. Smith, a compassionate and experienced oncologist, enters the room with a gentle smile. He senses the anxiety in the air and approaches the couple with empathy. Taehyung, YN, I've reviewed the results of your tests, and I'm afraid I have some difficult news to share. The doctor said very softly, knowing the finesse of this matter. His breath catches in her throat, her eyes searching the doctor's face for any hint of hope. What is it, doctor? What's wrong with me? YN's voice trembled as Taehyung squeezed her hands, assuring her whatever it is they will overcome and he is there for her. The doctor took a deep breath and said, I'm so sorry to say this, but the tests indicate that you have cancer. The doctor felt very sorry for her as a gasp escapes YN's lips, and tears begin to well up in her eyes. Taehyung instinctively pulls her closer, trying to shield her from the devastating news. Cancer? How serious is it? Taehyung said in the voice-breaking voice, unable to intake the shocking news. The doctor sighed and said gently, we've caught it in its early stages, which is promising. But we'll need to start treatment as soon as possible to give you the best chance of fighting it. YN's mind is a whirlwind of emotions, fear, confusion, and sadness all crashing together. Will I be okay, doctor? Can we fight this? YN asked with a tear in her eyes, trying to handle herself. We will do everything we can, YN. Cancer treatments have come a long way, and we'll be starting with a comprehensive plan to tackle this together. You are strong, and with the right support, we can face this challenge head-on. The doctor said kindly as Taehyung squeezes YN's hand, trying to offer her reassurance, but the pain in his eyes is evident. We'll fight this together, YN. You're not alone in this battle. We have each other, and we'll face it one step at a time. YN takes a shaky breath, trying to find strength in Taehyung's unwavering support. I'm scared, YN said softly with no energy in her, and Taehyung whispered soothingly and said, it's okay to be scared, my love. We'll take this journey together, and I'll be right here by your side, no matter what. Dr. Smith offers a compassionate smile, understanding the emotional weight of the moment. It's natural to feel scared, but remember, you have each other. Lean on your support system, family, friends, and know that we'll do our best to guide you through this journey. The doctor said very softly as YN wipes away her tears, her resolve strengthening. YN nodded her head and said, thank you, doctor. We'll fight this with everything we have. Dr. Smith smiled kindly and said, you're welcome, YN. I believe in both of you. We'll start your treatment plan right away and make sure you have all the support you need. As Dr. Smith discusses the treatment options with the couple, they find solace in each other's presence, knowing that together, they will navigate the storm ahead and face whatever challenges may come their way. They hold on to hope, their love for each other providing the strength they need to confront the uncertain path that lies ahead. Please comment and like, also subscribe to know whether they will overcome this obstacle or not. To be continued.